Now, where are we at right now with the sort of regional wave? Syria. Syria is a seismic event in the region that is changing sectarianism, it's changing identities, it's spilling over, not just physically. I'm not talking about the fighting, but I'm talking about how people conceive of their own identities in the region. And here again, we have to look at what is new today. It's social media. The fact is that when Saddam Hussein was killing Shia in the 90s, it did not affect the rest of the region as much today because it wasn't being broadcast live. And this is a huge, huge dimension that hasn't been, I think, fully explained by social scientists. The ripple effect of social media, the fact that this fighting is conveyed real time, the fact that Twitter allows citizens to participate real time in the drama that's unfolding around them. And social media really arose, it really exploded in the region at precisely the time when the Iraqi civil war was happening around 2006. And now with Syria, it's had an even more galvanizing effect. Obviously, the Gulf states are major players in the Syria war. They're sending money, they're sending volunteers, they're sending jihadists. And what's the draw? Why are the Gulf states involved in that? To fight their strategic rival, Iran. But many of these volunteers, these Sunni volunteers that are going to Syria, what's their motivation? Their motivation is to kill, to fight Shia, to fight a sectarian war. There's been studies done of terrorism recruitment, of jihadi recruitment, and they compared the Iraq war with the Syria war. In the Iraq war, what was the magnet? What was the draw? If I'm a jihadist and I want to go to Iraq, it was to fight the occupying army. It was to fight the Crusaders. It was to fight the imperialists, the United States. But the message in Syria now is, I'm going to go fight the Shia, and that message has actually proven more and more powerful in terms of the numbers of Sunnis that it is drawing. So we are really in a dire situation in terms of the blowback effect of sectarianism. But to dial back to the theme of my book, if we want to really address the root causes in terms of things that we can change, certainly what's happening in the region in these wars matter. But that's kind of up here. We can look in these states in the Gulf, in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, we need to look at the local level, and we need to look at institutions, and we need to look at governance in terms of how these states treat their citizens. It's really about exclusionary policies that have kept segments of the citizenry out of government, has discriminated against them on issues of land ownership and provincial development, in the labor market. We can go down the list. Virtually every segment of society and economy in these states is split along sectarian lines. Banking, government ministries, the security forces. This is a huge thing, huge issue. In Bahrain, the Shia are 70% of the population. But the security forces and the army are overwhelmingly Sunni, and more importantly, these Sunnis are brought from outside Bahrain. And so there's this sense, if I'm a Shia in Bahrain, that the people who are policing my streets are not even from my community, and more importantly, they're mercenaries that are brought from outside the country. And this is a huge irritant on civility in the country and on security, really. The same thing in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, where the Shia are located. This is the oil-rich area. The Shia there complain that the police are all Sunnis brought from elsewhere, from outside that region. Education is a huge sphere of discrimination. We know that a place like Saudi Arabia has a real problem with tolerance in its curriculum and worldview, and this is especially so in its views toward the Shia. So when I talk to Shia parents in Saudi Arabia, one of their major grievances, I send my kid to a school and he's taught in the education system that his sect is a heretical sect, that all Shia need to be killed. I mean, this is a huge irritant in social relations in that country. Obviously, in the religious and cultural sphere, in most of these countries, there are official clerical bodies where clerics have a say on law, on family law. They have their religious endowments, but the Shia have been really cut out of that. Media. I've already talked about the effect of social media on sectarianism, but more importantly is the impact of official media, the fact that the Saudi government, that it controls so much media, both official and semi-official, through the funding of princes, has allowed sectarian vitriol to permeate its media. So you find these preachers, these clerics that are peddling a sectarian narrative, and this also exacerbates sectarianism.